All right, so we start a new unit today all about ratios and rates. And so today we are going to be talking a lot about division and fractions and comparing numbers. So get that cap on. Here we go. Students will be able to express relationships as ratios. They will also be able to do conversions in order to simplify ratios involving measurements. So we're looking first at a table for 4 different types of animals and their lifespan in years. On average, how many times as long does a gray whale live as a kangaroo? So the gray whale lives for 70 years, the kangaroo for 7. In order to get from 7 to 70, what do we multiply by? And we would say that the gray whale lives 10 times. So we can do it in that, or we can say 7 times 10 will get us 70. We also could do 70 divided by 7 equals 10. For each year a kangaroo lives, how many years does a gray whale live on average? So when one of them is 10 times longer than the other, that means that for each year of the kangaroo, the gray whale is living 10 years or 10 times as long. What operation did you use to find parts A and B? So you can use either. You can think multiplication, but what's really happening is division. A ratio is a comparison of two quantities by division. If two quantities, A and B, have the same, similar, or related units of measure, then the ratio of A to B is a fraction, A over B. So it means the same thing. You can say A to B, or you can write it as a fraction with the A on top and the B on bottom, because A to B starts with A, the fraction starts with A. So 3 to 4, a colon is another way to write 3 to 4, or the fraction 3 to 4. Algebraically, we would use the letters A to B, or A to B with the colon, or A over B. Writing ratios in simplest form. Express the ratio 12 baskets made in 18 attempts as a fraction in simplest form. So what this is really saying is 12 out of 18. This person that's, shooting baskets made 12 out of 18. So we can write it as 12 with a colon 18. We can write 12 to 18, or we can write it as the fraction 12 over 18. This question asked it for fraction in simplest form. So we would take 12 over 18. We would find that they are both divisible by 6, and that it would be 2/3. So the answer to this question, fraction in simplest form, is 2/3. What does that actually mean? It means 2 baskets made out of every 3 shots attempted. Or we can say 12 out of 18 is equivalent to 2 out of 3. So the ratio of baskets is a 2 to 3 ratio. That's really good. This means that for every 3 shots, there were 2 baskets. All right. Refer to the table above. Express the lifespan of a bottlenose dolphin to the lifespan of a mouse. So the bottlenose dolphin was 30 years. So we would say 32, and the mouse was 3. And the reason we went in that order is because the bottlenose dolphin was listed first, 30. 2 would be your colon, or you can leave the word 2, and the mouse is 3. So they have to stay in the same order in the sentence as they do when we write it as a ratio. So we can also say 30 to 3, or we can write it as a fraction, 30 over 3. Now, I know in elementary school, they always talk about which number goes where when it's a division or a fraction, and that gets thrown out when we start talking about rates and ratios. You have to have a consistent order. They asked for us for bottlenose dolphin first, so 30 goes on the top. That's the bottlenose dolphin. They asked us for mouse second. 3 goes on the bottom for mouse. If they had asked the question in the other order, we would set the fraction up in the other order. So for every, if we put this in lowest terms, express the lifespan of a bottlenose dolphin to the lifespan of a mouse, 30 over 3, we would divide by 3, and that would be a 10 to 1 ratio. So we're always going for lowest terms. So for every 10 years a bottlenose dolphin lives, a mouse lives 1 year. Always, always, always going for lowest terms. All right. As of October 2017, about 50 out of every 75 Americans own at least one Apple product, iPhone, iPad, etc. Express this ratio as a fraction in simplest form and explain its meaning. So the order that they gave it to us in was, let's see, 50 out of every 75. So we're going to say 50 to 75, or we can do it as 50 out of 75. Express this ratio as a fraction in simplest form. So I would say equals, I'm going to notice they're both divisible by 25 and say this is a 2 to 3 ratio. So 2 out of 3. Or we can say 2 Americans own an Apple product out of every 3. And that would be like translating it from math to English or language arts, I guess you could say, something that's sentence form as opposed to a little short phrase or just the numbers. All right, so you'll notice all of those, we always wanted to put them in lowest terms. Everything we've done so far are numbers that you can count. Now what we're going to talk about are measurements, and this is really, really important. There are 2 very different types of questions. There are ones where we measure, and measuring has to do with, weight. It could be, pints and quarts, which is another measurement. It could be inches and feet, which would be like a length or a height. Seconds and hours, which is a time. The measurement questions are set up and done completely different from the first set. So you kind of need to do a mind shift here. If you are doing a problem that has to do with measurements, new type of solution. When writing a ratio involving measurement, both quantities should have the same unit of measure. So we can't just compare 8 ounces to 3 pounds. We need to compare them with the same units. One is in ounces, one is in pounds. Now, in order to do that, I'm going to start doing some math. I'm going to say, okay, if 8 ounces of, let's say, butter compared to every 3 pounds of flour. I have no idea what I'm making, but we'll say there's a ratio of some baked good where there's 8 ounces of butter for every 3 pounds of flour. In order to get this into 1 unit, I have to multiply that by some sort of conversion factor. Now, at the bottom of the page, you will notice that there are conversion factors, and we need to do one that has to do with ounces and pounds. And we can find that one. Let's see here, ounces and pounds right here. Every 1 pound is equal to 16 ounces. So what we're going to do on our problem, and I'm going to label this problem here with a green dot just so we know where this came from. I'm going to multiply that by 1 pound over 16 ounces. And some of you are going to be like, whoa, 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 why do you have them switched? The reason I have them switched is because I want to be able to simplify. There's ounces on top and ounces on bottom. I can cancel those units. There's pounds on the bottom and pounds on the top, and I can cancel those units. I purposefully set up this second fraction, which was a conversion. Okay. I purposefully set that one up so that it was backwards from the first one so that all the units would cancel. Now I can simplify. I can say that 8 divided by 8 is 1 and 16 divided by 8 is 2. And when I multiply 1 times 1, 3 times 2, I get that it is a 1 to 6 ratio, or a 1 to 6, or a 1 to 6. Now, if I were going to make this recipe and I'm on Chopped or I'm on one of the cooking shows, I know that for every 1 unit of butter, I need 6 units of flour. And that way I don't need to worry about the units being the same. So it could be 1 pound of butter to 6 pounds of flour. It could be 1 ounce of butter to 6 ounces of flour. This is a ratio that works outside of measurements. So this is a 1 to 6 ratio, or you can say it's a 1 to 6 ratio as a fraction. All right, so let's try another one. This is also measurements. 5 pints to 6 quarts. So if I look down at the bottom and I'm looking for a pints and quarts, so I'm going to look over here and see that 1 quart is equal to 2 pints. So I'm going to put orange there just so I know which one uses which. I'm going to write 5 pints over 6 quarts, and I'm going to multiply that on purpose. I'm going to put the 1 quart on the top so that the quarts will cancel. I'm going to put the 2 pints on the bottom so that the pints will cancel. I'm going to look around and say, nope, I don't notice anything else that can be simplified. 5 times 1 is 5, 6 times 2 is 12, and this is a 5 to 12 ratio. So let's say this was 5 pints of milk to every 6 quarts of chicken stock, and I'm making some kind of a cream soup. I know that if I'm not worried about pints and quarts, I know that it's 5 of one unit compared to every 12 of the other unit. So I could do 5 ounces of milk to 12 ounces of stock. I could do 5 cups of milk to 12 cups of stock, and I'm going to get the same recipe every time. So this is going to be a 5 to 12 or 5 to 12. All right. 36 inches to 7 feet. Now this one's going to be one where you go, come on, Mrs. Fraser, we don't need this strategy. I know inches and feet. It's right here. Every 1 foot has 12 inches. And what I'm going to say is I happen to know that in the coming years, you need this strategy for more complex problems than this one. So we're going to practice it on the easy problems so that when we get to the harder ones, we have a strategy to fall back on. So inches and feet. I'm purposefully going to put the 1 foot on top so that the feet cancel. I'm purposefully going to put the 12 inches on bottom so that the inches cancel. I'm going to look around and go, oh yeah, definitely the 12 and the 36. 12 divided by 12 is 1. 36 divided by 12 is 3. And now I can get, it's a 3 to 7 ratio, or 3 to 7 with the colon, or 3 to 7. And that's, maybe this has to do with how many inches of trim I need for how many feet of fabric. And maybe I want to be able to do this and not have to keep going back and forth between inches and feet. So it's a 3 to 7, or the fraction 3 to 7. All right, last one. We've got 540 seconds compared to 1 hour. So we want to look through all of our conversion choices. Oh, geez, I don't see this one. Seconds and hours. I don't know how many seconds are in an hour, but I do know some other conversion factors. So I'm going to write 540 seconds to 1 hour. I do know that there's 60 seconds in a minute. So I'm going to put 60 seconds on the bottom so that the seconds cancel, and put 1 minute on top. And I'm going to notice that I still have hours and minutes. Ooh, I know how many minutes are in an hour. I know that there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. And so now I can cancel minutes with minutes, and this hour that's way here at the end can cancel with this hour that's back at the beginning. Sometimes it takes more than one conversion. And there are some conversions, guys, that we're not going to put down here in our list because we know there's 60 seconds a minute, and we know that there's 60 seconds in an hour. So I'm going to look and say, I am going to do 540 times 1 times 1. I'm going to do 1 times 60 times 60. And I'm going to look at this and say, this isn't in lowest terms. I have to get this to lowest terms, and it still needs to be a fraction. So I have 2 things to compare. First, I'm going to knock 1 0 off of each of those. And I'm going to say 54, 360, just to make it a little easier. I could say divide by 2, divide by 2. I could look for other numbers that maybe, like a 6 or a 9 might work. I happen to know that 18 goes into 54. I also know that 18 goes into 36. I'm going to divide by 18. And I'm going to get 3 to 20, or 3 to 20 that way. So this is going to be a 3 to 20, or a 3 over 20. And you'll notice that that one took a little bit more work because I needed 2 conversion facts to get there. So in this one, 1 quart is 2 pints. In this one, 1 foot has 12 inches. You're always going to be multiplying by the conversion facts when it is a measurement question. All right, so I know we're going to have lots of questions tomorrow in class, and I can't wait to hear them all. See you then.